Hey everybody, this is our Yard Podcast, episode number 14. We're coming at you live with the top. We're gonna go over 5 albums each of 1993, and this is gonna be our review right after this. Oh, feel a little man of pain. Little jerking my jerkin. Alright, everybody. I'm going number 1. I got this. I'm gonna start this off hot with the best album of 1993. August and everything after from the Counting Crows. That's it. That's the tweet. I'm done. I don't have to say nothing more. That's the
This
best
has been episode 14 of our Yard Podcast. Hope you enjoy.
But no, man, like, dude, what a debut album to come out swinging like that shit. And like, yeah, there's some, I don't know, man, like, if you're a Counting Crows fan, you just are like, you know, if you just know them for their hits, like, they do have, like, there's some songs, you know, people, like, a lot of people will rap them in, like, oh, they're a sad band and shit like that. But, not really. I mean, there's a lot, I mean, there are some, you know, slower songs that might have some melancholy feels to them, but I mean, dude, out of the 11 songs you got, it opens up with Round Here, one of their iconic songs, Omaha, and somewhere in middle America, oh, yeah. And you got Mr. Jones, which, shout out Mr. Jones, you know, it's one of my favorite, like, it's a hit, everybody knows it, but, man, what a fucking banger of a song that is. Plus, it has me a damn, it has a special place in my heart, cause, you know, one of my ex-wives, that's what we listened to. Oh! The first time we made it, oh!
There's a rumor about that song also being about the singer's penis.
It was about my penis cream pieing. Oh! Sorry, I hope I didn't get too in depth, my ex-wife. Oh! She's probably not listening, but, and then we got Perfect Blue Buildings. My fuck, what a damn song. Dude, I love that song. Like that. Whoo! Dude, Perfect Blue, that might be my favorite. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's my favorite Counting Crow song and off this album. But like, and then Anna Begins. What a banger. I mean, just time and time again. Whoo! Rain King, Sullivan Street, Ghost Train, Raining in Baltimore. That's a slept on heat right there, brother. And then A Murder of One, like, dude, that whole album just fucking, like, it just fucks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that damn, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I had to pick it for my first album. I mean, shout out my dudes. Shout out my old guy, CC. He's the one that got me. He's the one that got me on the damn Counting Crows. And like, life hasn't been the same since then. Got me on the big show.
As it shouldn't be.
But, like, if you do enjoy them, like the Counting Crows in any form, like, listen to that first album. Hell, listen to the second album too. Like, it's a banger. Like, Recovering the Satellites, but yeah, like August and everything after, shit, dude. Like I said, if you like them at all, listen to that fucking album and it'll lock you in. I mean, it's just one of the best. It's one of my favorite albums of the 90s. Easy. Like, Not even close. But, after that, I'll, we like to do snake draft. So, no, I'm just kidding. Not necessarily snake, just back and forth, but, I'll let Trevor kick off with one. Go with his 1-1 album.
Absolutely. For this next album, surprise, surprise, it's my favorite band. And this is probably, honestly, it's like, I love this album personally. I love every album they've ever put out, but this is probably their weakest in my opinion. And I would have probably some Primus loyalists try to rip my head off for that. But, Pork Soda from 93. And when I say it's their weakest, I don't mean it's a bad album. Like, it would still probably be in like my top 50 albums ever. And that sounds kind of like an insult to it, but like you have no idea how much music we listen to. So with that in mind, I mean, Pork Soda is definitely their darkest album as far as subject matter. And you wouldn't really know that the way it starts off, because it starts off with a little mandolin. Les Claypool's actually playing the mandolin on this. And it goes into this little like 20-second ditty. It's called Pork Chop's Little Ditty, and that leads into one of the biggest hits they ever put out, My Name is Mud. And this is that was probably the first song I heard from Primus was Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, because that video was all over fucking VH1 Classic when we were kids. And it used to be on Jumpstart for some reason too. But besides that, thunderous bass line from Les. A lot of this album, he's really in the lower registry of his 6-string. So you hear a lot of low end in this album. And this is some of Herb's, like, I think Herb's drumming on this album is very, very underrated. But anyway, that goes into another, I guess, quote unquote hit, if you can call it that, Welcome to This World, which me and Harley, obviously we saw My Name is Mud live, but when we saw Welcome to This World live, that was intense. And it's a very, it's a song almost like makes you feel like you're at a circus in a weird way. And you're like walking through a freak show is the only way I know how to describe the sound of it. And then it goes into probably my second favorite song on the album, Bob. And when I was talking about getting into a darker subject matter, this is a song, like, as the lyrics say, I had a friend who took a belt, he took a belt and he killed himself. And that's just kind of the subject matter of the song. It's about a dude. They don't really give much subject matter into like what he's actually like, except for like he was friends with the narrator of the song and that he killed himself. And right after that, it goes into one of Les's most insane fucking bass lines he ever did, DMV. And he's just he's tapping the entire song. And like, it took me a long time to be able to learn Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, and I can still barely play it. I will never learn DMV. I am fully confident in that. It doesn't hurt my feelings to know that I'm not going to be able to play that song. It just is what it is. But it is also, is a very self-explaining song. It's about the DMV. Number 6, in the Fisherman Chronicles, this is technically part 3. It's the Old Diamondback Sturgeon. Little 4.5-minute song about a fish.
Which they're actually been playing that song live recently.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. They've been throwing it in and out of their, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was looking at the set list from this tour, and they've been throwing that in. I'm like, damn, what a fucking, what a damn throwback with that. That's kind of a diamond in the rough.
Oh yeah. And like, obviously I'm going to have my bias with Primus in saying they don't have a bad album. They don't have a bad song. Most of this album is great, honestly, but like compared to the rest of their albums, I just feel like, outside of maybe the Desaturating 7 or the Wonka album, just cause like it is theirs, like they wrote the music and they wrote the lyrics. Well, outside of, the Wonka album, but it's their spin on something rather than it is like something unique coming out of them, if that makes sense. So like those are probably my 2 least favorite albums from them, but out of their original works, definitely Pork Soda, just cause, it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't stack up to the rest of their albums the way that, like the Brown album, for instance. I love the Brown album. But going back to the main point, it goes back into track 7, which is Nature Boy, which is a very fun, it's still very dark subject matter, but it's a very fun instrumental. Wounded Knee, speaking of instrumentals, is one of several instrumentals on this album. And even with it being like 2 minutes, 25 seconds long, it's the second longest instrumental on the album. And the longest instrumental is the longest song on the album. But number 9 is Pork Soda, which is probably the weirdest fucking song they've ever done, to be completely honest. And that is saying a lot. Like, if you're not familiar with Primus, that is saying quite a bit. So if you don't like Pork Soda, if you don't like this album, I completely understand. But if you don't like the title track, I definitely get it, because it took me a while to be like, what the fuck's going on? Number 10 is probably my favorite song on the album, The Press Man, which is, they've been playing this song since like the late 80s, and then they finally put it like on their third studio. So anyway, after that, it goes into one of Harley's favorite songs on this album, Mr. Crinkle, and probably the wildest music video that they ever put out. And again, that's saying quite a bit. It's one of the few songs on the album, including Pork Soda and several others, where he's actually playing like a stand-up bass, kind of like a cello. And it's a very fun, again, Primus's music makes you feel like you're in a carnival in hell. So Mr. Crinkle's probably the best example of that on this album. The Area's Getting Slippery is just a quick little goofy, kind of feels like something out of the 20s. It's a fun time, but I mean, it is what it is. Hamburger Train, which is by far the longest song on the album at over 8 minutes long, is the instrumental. It has a sample from the film Nice Dreams, starring Paul Reubens, better known for being Pee Wee Herman. And probably Les's best bass work on the album, by far. I mean, it's just 8 minutes of not stopping at all. And then the last 2 songs on the album are kind of just, it's an instrumental. Pork Chop's Little Ditty, it's the longer version. If I'm not mistaken, the first one is usually called Granddad's Little Ditty. And then Pork Chop's Little Ditty is the one that kind of like leads into the last song of the album, Hell Santa, which is obviously a play on words, but just a very goofy song. This is an album where, like, subject matter wise, it was super dark throughout, but instrumentally, this is one where they don't really take themselves as seriously as they usually do. If I had to rate it, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. It's still a very solid listen, but there's better Primus albums, and I feel like there's better albums from 1993 as well.
Yeah.
Sorry about the steal.
Nah, you good. Fucking talk about it, brother. You ready for me? Alright then. I want to go, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Alright, with my second album, I'm going. Now these are albums, like, my list, I do have albums that I know. Some of the albums I might not know all the songs off of them. I might know just a little bit. So I'm picking the songs that I 1000% know. And like, I'm picking albums that I 1000% know the songs. And like, my honorable mentions are going to be those other albums. And like, just stuff that I've, that had a big impact or stuff like that. But like, and these aren't necessarily my, I don't know, they might not be my favorite albums of the like top 5, like in order or nothing like that. But, this one, gotta go number 2 is, I gotta go with Versus by Pearl Jam. My God, what an album. Like, I'm not a Pearl Jam dick rider or nothing like that. I like Pearl Jam, alright. I really love the first 2 albums, man, like, 10 and Versus. Like, this shit, I remember my Uncle Kenneth gave me this CD when I was when I was just driving, I had my first truck and I was listening to, he let me borrow this and brother, this out from the jump, like from the first track go, like boy, I was going, that song, like go animal. Whew, I don't know, man. Eddie Vedder was singing his ass off on this album. I mean, that's really, of course, I mean, you know, I love the music. Mike McCready's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. You know, Stoney Boy, of course, being a big Mother Love Bone fan, like Stoney Boy's I love him. Love Jeff Ament, like the bass player. I mean, the music was killer on the whole album, really, but like Eddie's voice, man, like he did, like, he sang, like, really well, you know, on the first album, but it was like the second album was like, I don't know, there was like there was more emotion, I think, but I think a lot of that probably had to do with he started writing more lyrics, you know, like he started contributing a little bit more because hell, Stone and like Stone Gossard and Jeff, hell, they wrote most of the music, like they already had most of the album written before he even got there. You know, like they had most of the first album written before Eddie got there. So this is kind of like his first album, like fully incorporated, like they're all doing this together, you know, like they're all writing together and shit. And plus they were like beyond popular, like on a meteoric rise at that point. And man, cause then the first single's track 3, Daughter, I mean, that's still one of the biggest fucking songs. Alone by herself, here lives in the sand in the middle of the song. Hell. Oh, you can't go wrong with that. Now, my favorite song is the last one on the album, but like, Glorified G, man, that's a rocker, man. Like, it's straightforward. It's just like, you know, right to the point. It's like, it's so fucking catchy, man. Like, that's the thing about this album is like, everything, like, this whole album is just catchy as hell. And like, Dissident, woo! Man, that song gets to me, like, it pulls at my heartstrings for some reason.
And a huge hit
why.
out there.
It gets me. WMA, you know, it's just a little song, like, it's probably my least favorite on the album, I guess, I would say. Between that or Elderly Woman Masturbating Behind the Counter in a Small Town. I seem to recognize your face, and I seem to see your face on the way. Yeah.
Jesus.
Eddie better come after me for singing your fucking songs. Ooh! Now Blood, man, that's like, there's some anger in that song, man. I love that shit. Like, Blood's a banger. This or Dissident might be my second favorite. I don't know, but Mother Truckin' Rearview Mirror, man. Whoo! Fucking Eddie singing on that, dude. Like, if you've heard this song, like, the ending part where he's just like screaming his fucking lungs out, man, like, God, it gets to me. Like, it's one of the best things. I just love it. Like, man. Yeah, Rearview Mirror. Beautiful song. Rats is that's a song to me, like, that's, probably one I guess most people would probably be unrecognizable from the album. Like, just hidden. But man, Rats, like, it's a little weird, I guess, but like, man, it's a killer song. And like, of course, in it, I recommend that. And then like, it goes into, Elderly Woman Masturbating Behind the Counter in a Small Town. Then you got Leash. Man, like, Leash is a lot of emotion into that. And then like, as soon as it gets off Leash, it's like it just stops. And then it goes into the greatest Pearl Jam song of all time. And that is Indifference. Boy howdy. I used to cry to this song about my first ex-wife. I used to get real emotional about this shit, brother. I can listen to it now and not be so sad, I reckon, but it's still a damn, man, it's a banger, like, it's a damn, like, I don't have the words to express, like, just how good of a fucking song this is. And like, the biggest Pearl Jam fan we know would be Maddie Moore. Shout out Maddie. She probably don't listen to us, but she is the biggest Pearl Jam fan, and she loves, like, me and her get to talk about, like, we've talked about this album and like talked about Indifference, like just how powerful of a song it is, and like how Eddie sings on it, man. It's like, man, like if you are in the Pearl Jam, if you only know the hits and you want to know more about them, like get into them a little bit, like 10 might be a little easier to listen to, like then you can listen to verses or get into verses. I don't give a shit, whatever you want to do, I guess, but like get into verses, you get into this, like get on Indifference, and it'll change your eyes about it'll change you how you feel, like how you view them. Cause man, what a great song it is. Like, oh God, I love that. Like, but yeah, it's overall, man, like, I'd have to give this album probably 8 out of 10. I'd say something like that. If I just had to rank it, it's a personal favorite. And like I said, I guess a lot of it probably has to do with me when I first started listening a lot to it. I was riding around, just got my truck, riding around doing all that dumb shit, like just listening to this album, and man, it's great. I recommend checking that out. One of my favorite albums of 1993.
The banger of an album is.
Yes, sir.
And now for something completely different. We are going into one of my favorite releases of 1993. This is September 14th. It's probably one of the shortest, if not the shortest album listed of all the albums today. It's only 37 minutes long. But I'm talking about Cure for Pain from Morphine. I love this album. I'm going to try not to cuss as much just because I don't need to. But, we're trying to not like, I'm a sailor and he's a construction worker. So, I mean, you're going to hear some cussing. But, no. But no, this album is, if you're not familiar with Morphine, they were a jazz rock trio from the 90s. Their singer and slide bassist, he only had 2 strings on his bass and he had a slide. His name was Mark Sandman, rest in peace. He wound up passing away on stage. You have the saxophonist as well, Danny Colley, and then you have the drummer, Jerome Dupree. And you had some other people come on and play some extra instruments, but we wound up you'd like listen to this album if you just want to put on something to veg out to. It's a quick little 37-minute listen. It's not going to take too much time out of your day, and I guarantee you will at least find one song on this album and on every album, if not multiple, that you will probably fall in love with. It starts off with a little 44-second not really an instrumental. It's just kind of like a segue track into the actual rest of the album. And, that's a song called Donna. It's not even a minute long. All the tracks are written by Mark Sandman except for this one where, the saxophonist helped write it. And, throughout this album, you're going to hear just like very deep saxophone because it's a baritone, more often than not. And, the next song is one of the bigger hits on the album. It's called Buena. And it's a very upbeat, kind of makes you feel like you want to dance a little bit. But the sliding of the bass on Mark Sandman compared to the subtlety of the drums throughout the album and the saxophone on top of it. I guess they call it jazz rock just because it's got to have some sort of name, but really it's almost got like a bluesy feel halfway. But it's very good music. I enjoy it quite a bit. I'm Free Now goes into that afterwards, and it's more of a kind of a more lax song on the album, and you're going to get a lot of that on this album. It's not a very upbeat album at all, but that's not to say that it's a sad album. After that, it's probably the biggest hit on this album, All Wrong, and one of my favorites on the album as well. Right after that, it goes into Candy, another kind of slow jam, and the saxophone is very, very present in this song, even compared to most of the album. But no, I highly recommend the whole album. But Ahead with Wings is probably my favorite song on the album, and it's got one of the most beautiful saxophone solos you will ever hear, and alternative music in general, but alternative music especially. It's no song on the album's longer than 4 minutes long, and it's almost like they're coming off as kind of like a jam band. But no, In Spite of Me, it's probably the weakest song on the album to me because he's like talking like it's like he's talking through like this weird kind of like filter. Kind of sounds like an old school like 50s or 60s radio, but it's just this weird like. And that's pretty much the whole song. So in my opinion, I mean, you might find pleasure in it, but it's not necessarily for me. Thursday, another absolute banger from this album. Highly recommend. If you're going to get into morphine for the first time, I recommend Thursday as an intro track for you because it's very, very accessible compared to a lot of the music. Cure for Pain, the title track of the album itself, is a very good song as well. It's more of a slow jam. The slide bass is definitely a lot more present in this than a lot of the album, but this is probably my favorite case of Mark Sandman's bass skills on this album. Mary, Won't You Call My Name is one of the slowest songs on the album, but it's a wonderful song. Let's Take a Trip Together, another absolute banger. And the last 4 songs on the album aren't even 3 minutes long. Not combined, but just none of them are 3 minutes long. Let's Take a Trip Together is the longest one in that stretch, 2 minutes, 59 seconds. Sheila is the second to last song on the album, and falling in like Morphine does this thing where every song it kind of sounds the same throughout, but sounds completely different to the song before. It's kind of like Primus in that regard, but they don't sound anything alike, I can assure you. And Sheila's another very fun song, and it ends on Miles Davis's funeral, which is another very slow kind of song. Overall, if you're wanting to try this album out, it's different, but I can assure you it's a very, very fun time. And personally, I would probably give it I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's one of my favorite albums ever, honestly. So that's just my opinion. Other than that, we're going to go into Harley's third album.
All right, then. Number 3. Shout out Sethra, a.k.a. CC, who I shouted out a while ago. I might have to send him this episode, let him know we're doing this. Maybe one day we can get him on here. He's a trip. But 1993 albums, he got me on this one. It's Siamese Dream, The Smashing Pumpkins. Go ahead and give me a round of applause right quick. No. Listen, this album, man, woo! So this is their second album. You know, first album was Gish, like it, you know, it kind of got them going a little bit. This one was the one that just put them into the stratosphere. Like, you know, it had the three big hits. You know, you had Cherub Rock, Today, and Disarm. You know, with the three big hits. I mean, my God, what three hits, you know, to have on a damn album. Quiet, the second song after Cherub Rock, like, dude, Billy Corgan, one of the most underrated guitar players. Like, I don't, like, in my head, I guess, cause it's like, my whole life, you know, everybody's talking about all these guitar players and blah, like, and I never really understood, like, I never knew, like, what Billy Corgan, like, I just thought he was just singing, you know. And then I got older and I was like, oh, we play guitar. And I thought he just played rhythm. And then it was like, when CC got me on this, he showed me all this, like, he showed me like all these deep cuts. I'm like, what in the hell? And yeah, Billy Corgan, like, his solo on Quiet, whoo! I'm talking about he laid her down, brother. And like that, but his whole, like, his lead playing on this whole album is just phenomenal. I mean, you go from Quiet and then you go into Today. I don't really have to talk about, like, if you heard a Smashing Pumpkins song, chances it's probably Today or, you know, Bullet with a Butterfly Wings or 1979, but, you know, more than likely Today, like, then Hummer, oh, that's a sleeper, brother. That Hummer is that's a great song. Rocket, I mean, banger. Disarm, banger. Soma, sleeper, it's good. Geek USA is pretty, like, it gets you, you know, it kind of caught me off guard, like, let's do it the first time, then, like, you go into Mayonnaise, my brother in Christ. Mayonnaise is the best fucking Smashing Pumpkin song of all time. Nobody can tell me otherwise, like, oh my God. Just what a song, man. Like, this, I can't, like, if you enjoy Smashing Pumpkins at all, or if you understand them, like, if you just want to get, like, Mayonnaise, listen to that fucking song, and it'll change it. Like, it's the best Smashing Pumpkins, and honestly, it might be the birth of, like, shoegaze music, too, because it's kind of spacey like that. And then once again, it had a badass solo. But then you got Space Boy. Whoo! Space Boy, I need you. Kind of reminds me of Mother Love Bone a little bit. Like, the first time I heard it, I was like, hey, that kind of sounds like, you know, Mother Love Bone influence. But, Silverfoot, hell yeah. Damn, turning it up. Shredding. Sweet, and then the last two songs, Sweet Sweet and Luna. Luna's pretty song at the end, like, brother, this whole album, like, it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me, easy. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, it's just Smashing Punk. Like, it's what turned me on to them. It's what got me into them. And, like, you know, finally respected what they did and shit. Like, it's awesome. You know, it's the one I definitely recommend to go listen to if you want to. You know, if Smashing Pumpkins catch your ear, like, go listen to Siamese Dream. You know, that's like the perfect album to get into them. And yeah, I mean, that's my number 3. And like, I'll say this, my last 2 albums, I'm saving the best for last. And it's not going to be that big of a surprise if you listen to our favorite bands. If you listen to the favorite band episode, it won't be that much of a shocker, but anyways, we'll get into it when, you know, in a little bit whenever it gets to me, but we'll kick it to Trevor, let Swaggy T give you let him give you the rundown of his third favorite album, Melissa Etheridge. Here I am.
Not quite. Well, but it's close to Melissa Etheridge, though. is very close genre-wise, actually. Melissa Etheridge was actually considered to be a feature on this album. And if y'all knew anything about this album, you knew that, of course, I'm talking about Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers by the Wu-Tang. No, jokes aside, though, this is one of my favorite rap albums of all time. Some people feel as if it's overrated, and I get that, but I was a bit late to the party on it, and first time I heard it, it blew me away, especially compared to rap from this era, especially. But, um, it starts off Bring the Ruckus, which is a hell of a way to start an album, um, formed by, Ghostface, Jizza, Inspector Deck, Raekwon, and RZA are on this track. Then it goes into, one of my favorite songs on the album. Is very, very upbeat, Shame on a Fella. He's got ODB as the main artist for the most part on it. Then Method Man and Raekwon's on this. Clan in the Front, which is one of the more like for 1993, like the beat is aged probably not as well now, but Clan in the Front is one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's Jizza on it mainly and RZA as well. Fourth song on the album is one of the two or three on this song that pretty much has every main member of Wu-Tang, which is Ghostface, Jizza, Inspector Deck, Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, and RZA. It's Wu-Tang's Seventh Chamber, the first version of it, which is my personal favorite as far as the beat. Then it goes into a slow jam, Can It Be Also Simple, with Ghostface and Raekwon on it, and as well as an intermission on it as well, which if I'm remembering correctly, it's a interview on a radio station with Method Man and Raekwon. And yeah, the song itself is Ghostface Raekwon's beautiful song. The Mystery of Chess Boxing got pretty much everybody on there except for Jizza and RZA. And they bring on Master Killer and You God as well, which is they are members, but they're not like when you think of like the core seven. They're not in there usually, but they're definitely involved. They're in there. Um, then probably the biggest quote from the album, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with, is track 7. And another banger. I mean, this album is just, there's not a skip on it. But to kind of try to summarize, Cream, I mean, biggest hit they ever made. It's just, Inspect the Dead, Method Man, Raekwon on it. Jesus Christ. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with is just Inspect the Deck, Method Man, and RZA. It's also co-produced by Method Man as well. Track 9 is Method Man. Pretty much a solo track with Method Man on it for the most part. And number 10 is probably, at the time, one of the biggest songs. I think it was their first real big hit, Protect Your Neck. It's got all 7 members on it. 8. It's got You God on it as well. And 11 is probably the really, really sad song on it, Tears with a Z. It's Ghostface Killah and RZA. And to close the album out, they did a second version of Wu-Tang, The Seventh Chamber, as well as kind of an outro skit for the album. And top to bottom, I mean, music critics around the world have talked more about this album and given it more praise than I could in a short amount of time. It's a 10 out of 10, and it's not even close to being anything less. One of my favorite rap albums of all time. I don't care how overrated you may feel it is. It's a very, very wonderful album. With that being said,
it changed rap for damn sure. Like it catapulted it into a different,
into a stratosphere that hadn't been seen
like it
before.
started going mainstream with that shit.
Mm-hmm. And the sampling on it is just, I feel like there was producers before that RZA that were doing sampling and doing it very, very well. But what RZA did when he came in, I think changed the landscape of how we view sampling. And it definitely set the foundation of like where we are today, you know. But with that being said, we're gonna go into Harley's fourth favorite album of all time.
All time. I don't know about that. Alright. With, my fourth pick, fourth overall pick in the 1993 draft, Hogmaster selects Undertow by Tool. Give it up, boys. Here we go. Brother, the debut album of Tool. Motherfucking hell, boy. You don't know shit about fuck. If you don't know this goddamn album, you got soft hands. Soft hands, brother. This shit. Opening up with Intolerance, like, just a slow grooving, like, you know, I mean, really, it's, like it is, like, it's good. It's like, it's just like a build up though. Like, it's not a, you wouldn't necessarily just think, oh, it's a damn, great album opener. Like, not like an iconic album opener. It's just like, it does its job, I guess. Like, and it goes, then like it gets, but then like when it feeds into the next song, and then like just, like, brother, it feeds into Prison Sex, which is honestly one of the, like, when you read the lyrics and like figure out what the song's about, truly disturbing, songs, but like, my God, what a fucking, like, Maynard singing his ass off as always, like Dana Carey playing like a 13/12 time signature, like, that son bitch. I mean, that's all, goddamn, he just hit them goddamn drums. I mean, you just don't know what the fuck he's about to do, boy. This is like, beat you on a dirt road, you know me. But then, yeah, dude, but, like, dude, honestly, like, the thing I love about this album, like, that got me into this was listening to Adam Jones' guitar playing, like, his guitar tone on the album, man, like, whew, damn, I love it. It's raw. It's fucking, like, in your face. I love, like, Prison Sex, one of the big hits. Great song. Excuse me. It goes into the third song, which is Sober. Sober is probably their biggest hit, I'd say.
I would say so. That's a good. Well, that or like on the album or in general? Because I would say the pot.
No, well, Pot's probably top. The biggest song, because I just started thinking about it. The biggest song is probably on my least favorite album. What's that damn song? Is it John? No, Schism off Lateralis. That's like my least favorite Tool album is Lateralis, but that's probably the biggest Schism. Got the iconic bass line. Now, it is badass to see live. I've seen them twice, but anyways, not going on that album. Sober, probably, if it's not their biggest song, probably their second biggest song of their discography. I mean, don't know what else to say. It's a bank, like, song fucks, man. Like, it just goes hard. Then you got Bottom featuring, Henry Rollins. Oh, God. Like, the thing I love, man, something else I love about this album is just like, it's so fucking heavy, man. Like, it's so, like, it has that drag through the mud. Like, it has that, Sabbath, kind of has like that Sabbath and Soundgarden feel to it that I love. And like, I love this album. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, Crawl Away, probably my all-time favorite Tool song. I mean, you crawl away from me, you slip away from me, all away from me. Woo! That's like, that or Swamp Song, which I'm upset because when I saw them the second time I was talking about, they played, Part of Me, which I love on the EP. But like the night after, I was hoping, cause they were switching the songs up, like, they were switching like 4 or 5 different songs a night. And I was lining it up, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get it. Like, man, I thought I was gonna get Swamp Song that night. And I didn't get it. I thought, dude, I was hoping so bad. Like, what a damn. But Swamp Song, just a, God damn, I love that song. And then, Undertow. Yeah, like, the last 4 songs, like, they're all good. They're just, it's not my favorite. Like, I like the top half of the album, I guess, like the first 6 songs a little bit more than the last 4, but they're still great. Like, Undertow, the title track, that's a sleeper, man. And then 4 Degrees, that's one of Trevor's favorite. And then Flood, and then one of mine, like, now this one I quote, I just say the title of the song. Like, ever since the first time I heard it, I'm always like, when I say something's not like, instead of being like, oh, that's nasty or something, I'll be like, or I'm, whatever. I'll be like, I'm disgustipated. Like, disgustipated, man. I don't know what it is about that song. I just love that shit. Like, turn that shit up, boy. But, yeah, Undertow from Tool, definitely, I don't know. I definitely give it a 9 out of 10 for sure. Like, one of my faves.
Oh yeah, a damn wonderful album. And this is probably not the most popular album that came out this year, and it's definitely not the most popular album in this guy's discography. But it'd be kind of weird if we talked about '93 and we didn't talk about this. I'm talking about In Utero from Nirvana. And not my favorite, probably my least favorite Nirvana album, but it's still, you look at it and it really is a good album, to be completely honest. And, it starts off with Serve the Servants, which is, more than half the album was hits because that's just what Nirvana became after, Nevermind. And, obviously in retrospect, songs on Bleach became hits that weren't when they came out. And, but this album was, it was really good. I think, my favorite song on the album is actually the second song on the album, Scentless Apprentice. It's one of my favorite Nirvana songs in general. And immediately after that, it goes into the biggest hit on the album, Heart Shaped Box. Very unique music video for when it came out, but not my favorite Nirvana song. It's not a bad song, but just a bit overplayed, in my opinion. Number 4, speaking of songs by Nirvana, Rape Me. I always forget that song exists until it plays, and then here we are. Number 5 is a sweet ode to his daughter. Frances Farmer will have her revenge on Seattle. And hopefully she has at this point, because it rains all the damn time there, and we get a lot of it here in Oregon. Well, number 6, a quick little song, 2.5 minutes, is Dumb. And again, I'm not really, again, it's a good album, but like, as many of these songs that became hits, it's like I don't personally understand it, but like in retrospect, I've only listened to the album like 10 times, maybe another 15. Well, might do the trick. But Very Ape is the one directly after Dumb, and one of the 4 songs on the album that wasn't a hit. But it's all right. It's not bad. But Milk It right after that, another banger, in my opinion. Don't understand why that song didn't become a hit, personally. Another fan favorite right after that is Penny Royalty. And it's not an awful song, but it's not the best. It's not my favorite on the album by far. Radio Friendly Unit Shifter
is the longest song on the album, as well as the 10th track, and it's a banger. It's a banger. It's just it's mighty long for a Nirvana song, or at least it feels that way. And Tourette's is the second to last song, immediately going into All Apologies, which is another huge hit off of this album. And it may seem like I was being a little sarcastic with the album throughout, but I would still give this a solid 8 out of 10. It's not an awful album, but if you're gonna go listen to Nirvana, I highly recommend finding start with Nevermind, but Bleach is my second stop for you. Like, I'd even recommend you listen to like the Unplugged in New York over in Utero, but like it's still a really good album. I just feel like not their best work, but it'd be weird if we didn't talk about it for 93. But with that being said, we're going to go into Harley's fifth and final, the best album of 93 in his opinion.
Are you ready for this? It's MC Hammer. No.
God damn.
Oh.
No, please don't do it.
No, that came out in 91. This is, because it's my favorite, and I fucked up in 91 and didn't put my favorite album of theirs. 1993. My favorite run, the 3-album run of theirs in the 90s is its Counterparts by Rush. I mean, brother, I don't know. Like I've talked about before, 90s Rush is that's my favorite Rush. Like something about, I can't explain it really. I mean, it's just like Geddy's bass playing was just like the song. I don't know. They got like a lot of it. They got heavier, man. Like their tones, like his bass tone was just gritty, man. Like he was getting like a deep, like he was getting a deep tone, and like I don't know, the mixing on the album, everything was just perfect, man. Like those 90s albums, like it's just a sound that I love. I don't know how to explain it too well, I guess. Just besides it's fucking Neil Peart, Alex Lifeson, and Geddy fucking Lee, like being 3 of the best musicians of all time, doing the damn thing. Like that's about the best way I can say it. And it's like you open up with Animate, which is, brother, I don't like album opener. Shit, like that's hell. They had a live album come out in 98 different stages, and they played like Animate on there and had a bass solo, and God bless America. I mean, it's just Animate is a freaking certified hood classic. Damn, son, where'd you find this? It's damn. I mean, Animate, and then you go into Stick It Out. Just big bang. I mean, just big banging, brother. Cut to the Chase, underrated. Nobody's Hero, fucking incredible songwriting. Like, is
Nobody's Hero is probably my personal favorite from that album.
That's the one about, like, Geddy wrote it about one of his friends, like, one of his friends that was gay. And it was kind of like the whole age, like, people looked at him like, I don't know, like they were all carrying disease, like, cause the whole AIDS thing and like all that. And, Geddy had personal friends like that were gay, and, he just wrote about their side. It's like, it's really cool, man. Like, it's very well written, like, thought out. I mean, obviously, hell, it's Rush, so like that shouldn't surprise you if you've listened to him. But man, like, Nobody's Hero, God, it'll pull on the heartstrings, man. It's like, damn, nobody deserves this. Ooh. Between the Sun and Moon, Alien Shore is that's a banger, man. Like, I like that. I like Alien Shore. Like, it's just one of them. It's a sleeper, man. Like, Speed of Love, Double Agent, shoo. I mean, get on that shit, brother. Get on that damn, like, Getty was on some shit, man. Like, his bass playing on these albums in the 90s, like, and like, I don't know, Alex, like, his guitar tone too, man, like, just what he was getting, and like, he was making, dude, he made everything sound like $1,000,000. Like, I love it. Then Leave That Thing Alone, which is an instrumental, and then Cold Fire and Everyday Glory. I mean, dude, the whole album, perfect. It's a 10 out of 10. Like, this is hard for me. You know, there's not much Rush. Like I said, if I had one album, like, my least favorite of theirs is Grace Under Pressure from the 80s. Like, most Rush albums are going to get a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, there's not really too many weak spots on a Rush album. And like, this album definitely does not disappoint. Like, Counterparts, man, it's a damn, man, it's so good. And like, it might be, you know, for people listening, like, trying to get into it or what, like, you know, the first album, the first side of it might be a little, you know, the top half might be a little easier to get into than the back half, but like, if you're a Rush fan, you're like, yeah, this is it, man. Like, you know, the whole album you can get into the second, like, but that's kind of the thing though, is like, Rush is like, you either love them or you're like indifferent, you know, like, you're like, okay, like, they don't really mean that much, you know, like, so, like, you either get them or you don't, really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about what I've, you know, gathered in my life, and I get them, and like, I love Rush. I mean, I can listen to them every day. But yeah, like, that's my favorite album of '93. You know, I can give you some you want me to give my honorable mentions? Or do you want to give yours?
You can go ahead.
Alright. I'll give a few of mine. One of mine, shout out my Uncle Kenneth again. He always, I remember him having this album in his truck and sitting on his counter. The Sound of White Noise from Anthrax. Dude, that's like what John Bush was singing. That was his first album with him. Bro, John Bush was a hell of a singer. If you want to listen to more of his shit, like, he did 2 albums with Anthrax, but he was a singer in Armored Saint, which is a metal band from the 80s. And Armored Saint, man, like, my dad's got me into them, like, that old stuff. Like, they were fucking killer, dude. And like John Bush, one of my favorite, like, I love his voice. I mean, like, out of the big four though, like, you know, Anthrax has had the best singers, without a doubt. I mean, collected, like, Joey Belladonna and John Bush by themselves are the 2 best singers in the big four, easily.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but like, opened up with Potter's Field, which is a little different, you know, that's a banger. Like, Only was the lead single. Like, I love that fucking song. Room for One More is my favorite. You know, that's my favorite album, or my favorite song off the album. And like, the whole album's just good. I'm not gonna go through the whole damn thing, but, you know, if you like Anthrax, which it's a little different, cause it's not like the same thrash, like fast thrash that Anthrax was doing. It was like 93, of course, you know, Metallica done changed their sound a little bit. Megadeth changed a little, Slayer still sound the fucking same. You know, like, but Anthrax kinda, you know, they changed it a little bit different. It's like, Sound of White Noise is a fucking banger from that year. And now another one I always like, this is a little different, like, I don't know, cause like how I was raised, it was like, pretty much I like 70s Aerosmith, and that was about it. But for some reason, I really like the 1993 album, Get a Grip from Aerosmith. That's an honorable mention for me. Like, Eat the Rich, track song, Get a Grip, Fever, Living on the Edge. I mean, Living on the Edge is probably my favorite song on the album. Don't know, like, I know it's a big hit, but like, it's always been, I don't know why I've always like, been drawn to that song. I mean, crying, and then you had the two, like, even more popular hits, Crying and Crazy, Trevor's favorite.
Mm.
And I'm crying 'cause I let you, now I'm trying to forget you. I wanna say you.
A
You
big
know, all
fucking
that.
wolf right there.
But we can't forget.
One.
Now, I do have to say this, though. I had to shout these out. I mean, I had to give my country rant a little bit. Like, I don't know why I didn't pick a country album. I guess I was really just wanted to do some rock, I guess, showcase that. But, country albums, brother, like Toby Keith, his debut album, self-titled, brother, he has like 4 big hits on there. He had Should Have Been a Cowboy, which everybody knows. He Ain't Worth Missing. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. I wish I could start this whole thing over again. I'm not saying it's true, baby, you all part of my. And then you got a little less talking, a lot more action. Like, brother, he came out swinging on that album. Those are just the singles. Like, the whole album was good though. Like, Toby Keith went hard on that shit, brother. Don't sleep on it. Of course, I do have to say this, and I did talk about it the last time when we did 92, but this is when Dean Dillon came back and started writing songs with George Strait. Like, he came out with Easy Come, Easy Go. Man, like, go back and listen to, like, you can go back and listen to Holding My Own in 92 to Easy Come, Easy Go in 93, and you can tell that, like, there's a big difference, like, with George Strait. Like, the songs were just there, man. Like, they were, like, dude, I mean, he had 3 number ones on that album. He had a top 5 song with Love Bug on there. Like, brother, like, Easy Come, Easy Go. I like to have that one back. And The Man in Love with You, like, fuck out of here, brother. It's the GOAT. It's the GOAT. That's why you the GOAT. That's why you the GOAT. It's George Strait, baby. The king. I mean, of course, I guess there was I don't know. Like, of course, like I've said before, 90s country's my favorite. Like, Almost Goodbye from Mark Chestnut. That's a great album. Alibis from Tracy Lawrence. That's got some heat on it. Don't sleep on that. Like, a lot of people do like Tracy, but, like, that album, really good. And then Sammy Kershaw, when he broke out, he had a few songs on his first album, but when he got to Haunted Heart in 93, brother, that's when he had 2 number ones. He had Son of a Bitch, the Queen of My Double Wide Trailer. I always think about the line in that song where it's like, he rebuilds engines and his name is Earl. He's the Charlie Daniels of the Torque Wrench. Shout out Peyton Packett for that. And then you got the other big hit, Trevor's favorite Sammy Kershaw song. It's She Don't Know She's Beautiful. She's awesome. She don't know she's beautiful. She's not that great. Don't know she's beautiful. Though time and time I told her so. I mean, banger, dude. Like, that's one of those country songs you just play, like, you play it at a damn get together or funk, like, and it's like, oh, hell yeah, brother.
At the
It's like,
function.
at the function. But after that, yeah, I mean, there's probably some albums we're missing, like Spaghetti Incident from Guns N' Roses, Trevor's favorite.
Probably a Pavement album we don't know shit about.
Clay Walker's debut album was that year. And I was joking with Trevor earlier with Melissa Etheridge, Yes I Am. But that album, she had her two big songs on there with Come to my window, I'll be home soon. Late at night, wait by the light and go. Then you had, what was the other one? The only blues song, there's only two blues songs I like. That's just a shout out. This is my last honorable mention. Trevor do his. I just have to say I don't like blues music. I always say there's only two blues songs that I like in this world, and one of them is Melissa Etheridge. And I'm the only one, the one that wants a fire from you. Cause it's like, boom, 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 boom. That dumbass blues riff. But then the second one is, you know what it is, Trevor. Well, isn't You knew he was about to come out and turn face and heel 20 times in a match.
That's right. Be like Ric Flair when Sting tagged him in just for Ric Flair to beat the hell out of him.
That's right.
Shit was funny. But no,
that's my,
Sorry, go ahead.
That was my honorable mentions, and then I ran about blues music, so I'll let you take it, let you, give some damn. If I see some more albums, that we might forget, I'll holler at something, but, you can take it out, give us some damn, give us your honorable mentions of the year.
All right. Well, before I get into my honorable mentions, I'm going to start with my fifth album I want to go in depth on. And, if you don't know you've heard this album, let me just tell you, the answer is fucking, you've heard this album before. We're talking about Hits, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid by Collective Soul. And this was one of the first actual post-grunge albums, which if you don't know what post-grunge is, yes you do. It's called butt rock. And, that doesn't mean it's bad. That's just kind of, bubblegum grunge is probably another term you could use for it. But song starts off with easily the biggest hit they ever made, which is the song you just heard, Shine. And, a wonderful song. But, going into the next one, we're talking about Good Night, Good Guy. A lot of this album is very slow, especially compared to Shine. Shine's one of the heavier moments on the album, if you can even call anything on this album heavy. Wasting Time is a very, very slow song, but it's a very good song. Sister Don't Cry is another kind of fair to middling tempo song. One of my favorites on the album, but it's not that bad. My very favorite song on the album, track 5, Love Lifted Me. My favorite bass line on the album. No bias there being a bassist or anything. In a Moment is another wonderfully put together song. Heaven's Already Here, banger. Pretty Donna, probably, in my opinion, the weakest song on the album. It's kind of it's very slow. It's very slow. It's just violins the whole time, pretty much. Wasting Time, also previously mentioned, is one of the 3 hits, as well as this next track, Reach and Breathe. That's 9 and 10. Breathe being the hit. We goofed that up. But Reach is a very fun song, as slow as it is. A lot of this album is very, it's kind of the opposite of, Pork Soda, going full circle, I guess. Whereas, it's all very happy, sound good music, except it's very dark in subject matter. All this shit sounds very sad, but it's usually really optimistic, and Reach is a great example of that. Breathe is the other hit on the album, as well as previously mentioned. Scream is another one of my favorite songs on this album as well. It's just 3 minutes on the nose. It does give that bubblegum grunge, as someone once described it, kind of sound. where it's a very poppy grunge, but that shouldn't, void you away from it. It's still it's a very fun listen. Burning Bridges is third to the last song on the album, leading into a song that was only featured on the original 1993 Rising Storm release, Beautiful World. A very rare song, but if you can listen to it, it's an acoustic banger. It's slow. It's a lot of this album is very slow, but it is upbeat at the same time, given how slow it is. I would give it the album as a whole probably a 8.5, 9 out of 10. Very wonderfully written album lyrically. I don't personally think there's a bad song on it, but it's pretty consistently good throughout. Going into my honorable mentions that I'm not gonna get to, not really gonna go in depth as much as the previous five I've mentioned. We're gonna
Top
go
five
into
negative.
no, we're going into the very first song I ever heard in my life, to my memory. We're talking about
Low by
River,
Crack.
the River of Dreams from Billy Joel. And, this album's got, several hits on it. It's got River of Dreams, All About Soul, No Man's Land, Lullaby, Good Night, My Angel. Um, it's a dope album. If you like piano rock, piano pop, stuff like that. I mean, Billy Joel's a phenomenal pianist, so give it a listen if you so desire, that kind of yacht rock kind of vibe. Are You Gonna Go My Way from 1993 as well, from Lenny Kravitz, being one of the bigger albums he ever released in his career, if not the landmark album that really put him on the map. The hits on it, Are You Gonna Go My Way, Believe, Heaven Help, and Is There Any Love in Your Heart? Another dope, very good time kind of rock, very good rockin' album. I recommend it. 93 Till Infinity from Souls of Mischief. It's an alternative hip hop album from the Bay Area rap group Souls of Mischief. The biggest hit on this is the title track 93 Till Infinity. You're starting to notice a pattern here, I bet. But the other two hits, not as big as 93 Till Infinity. 93 Till Infinity was easily the biggest hit these guys ever made, but it's one of my favorite rap songs ever, and especially for that era. The other two hits being That's When You Lost and Never No More. Going into probably the most different of anything I've mentioned so far, Tuesday Night Music Club by Sheryl Crow. And we're talking about an album full of hits. Good Lord, this had it in fucking buckets of hits, brother. We're talking about Run Baby Run, What Can I Do For You, Leaving Las Vegas, All I Wanna Do, Strong Enough, Can't Cry Anymore. And this ain't even the biggest album she ever put out. So just take that with a grain of salt. We're going into Black Sunday by Cypress Hill, another very legendary album from the Southgate, California based Cypress Hill. And it's one of the biggest albums they had, if not the biggest. I would say the biggest hit on this is definitely Insane in the Brain or Hits from the Bong. But you got them two. You got When the Shit Goes Down, I Ain't Going Out Like That, and Lick a Shot. And just fantastic album. Definitely give it a listen if you haven't. These next two albums are also hip hop as well. We're talking about Snoop Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style. Producing easily the biggest hit he ever put out, Gin and Juice, and in my opinion, the best album he ever put out. Three hits from that album are Who Am I, What's My Name, Gin and Juice, and Doggy Dog World. And again, one of the best albums that came out in 93. Highly recommend listening to it. And last but definitely not least, one of my favorite rap groups of all time put out my personal favorite album they ever put out, A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. And what an album this was, truly, because the legacy this album leaves is I mean, again, like all the albums pretty much we've both talked about, like music critics have broken down these albums bit by bit, second by second, better than we'll be able to. But, I mean, the biggest hits on this album is going to be Award Tour, Electric Relaxation, and Oh My God featuring Busta Rhymes, as well as a couple extra features from Raphael Wiggins and Large Professor. Like, again, another very, very wonderfully put together album. Took them almost a year to record it, and they released it. They recorded it from January to September in '93, released it in November, and just definitely like the time they put into it, it definitely shows. I would recommend it.
Yeah.
But
there's a few more albums, like honorable mention, I just want to shout out before we get off. You know, your favorite. We got to shout out Garth Brooks, In Pieces. He had In Pieces, had Standing Outside the Fire, which is like, something like with Garth. I don't know if it was his family. Like, I remember watching it in the documentary he had on Netflix, and it was like, it was something like about, like it might have been like the first year of the Special Olympics or something, and like, there was something like that happened. Like, that's what it was. They were trying to, I think it was the Special Olympics trying to like join in, like trying to make their own Olympics, I guess. And like, they were like, pretty much like, fuck you, like, no, we're not doing that. Like, pretty much like, cause they're not, the people are like, oh, they're not, normal or what, what I'm saying? Like that kind of bullshit. And like, Garth wrote that song for them. And I'm pretty sure that was like the song, that was like their theme song. Like, the first shit was like Standing Outside the Fire. Like, he wrote it for them, like, he has a protest to like let them have the Special Olympics. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, it has a lot of meaning, but like, he, of course it had then, like, Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up, and, bunch of bangers. Like, like I said, like I talked about Garth in the 90s, like, brother, he was on fire. Like, he couldn't do wrong back then. And, hell, you can't forget your favorite, Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel. Can't forget that. And, if I have to say, I have to shout out one of my exes. Oh, Megan. Oh, shout her out. This is, her favorite, one of her, well, okay, her two, like her favorite country artist and then her favorite, but her favorite country artist and then her favorite, probably her second favorite band. Or anyway, like they're both in the top 5, I guess. We're going with, Tim McGraw. We gotta go with Tim McGraw, Not a Moment. Hold up, never mind. No, his first album. I almost messed up. That was his debut. His second album was, his first album. It wasn't like, it had Welcome to the Club, and it did have a George Strait cover, the only thing I have left. Ain't No Angels, Memory Lane, like those were kind of like the singles on there, like Welcome to the Club, Ain't No Angels, Memory Lane. But like his next album, which I will do in '94, I'll spoil that shit for you, cause Not a Moment Too Soon. What a damn great album. But yeah, Tim McGraw, and then that was his debut, and then, like I said, shout out Megan's, one of her other favorite bands is the Cranberries debut album. Everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? Holy shit. Like, I don't know what the chart positions were exactly, but the 3 hits on there were Dreams, Sunday, and Linger. Like, holy shit, what a damn, like, what 3 singles to put out on a fucking album. Like to have that, to have that big success you first go, like first dropping something. Like, pretty good. But yeah, like that's a damn good album though. Like, check out like the first Cranberries album. You gotta love it. Yeah. It was like, the whole out, man, I don't know. There's a lot, like I said, we've probably missed some that, we'll come back on the next episode and be like, oh, we forgot this, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
See,
someone's going to come on and be like, you forgot the polyfuse method by Kid Rock. Oh.
I went in and forget that one.
No, he definitely didn't.
But, yeah. I reckon that's probably going to be about it. We got a little longer episode. Damn near an hour and a half. But it was, yeah, man. We put out some good albums. Like, you need to go check these albums out.
That's right.
You guys need to listen to it. Give them your message today, Trevor.
Close your eyes and bite the pillow. We just went in raw. Hope you enjoyed yourselves listening. Hope you're drinking a liquid death. Hope you don't drink yourself to liquid death.
Get your Zen wintergreen.
Hope your mom tucks you in at night. Hope your stepsister's real tight.
And if she's not, I'll be there. Love you guys. No, I'm coming back.
Dog down a hallway.
No, I'm gonna find her. This bitch gonna open the door today. Coming home.
No, I'm a tourist, sorry.